Let's talk about the Dolce and Gabbana situation in China. Hi, you're watching Avenue X, and this is not a usual Avenue X video because I do drama reviews, Chinese drama reviews, and that's about it. If you're not familiar with what is going on, just type in the brand's name and China in your search engine, and you'll find everything. I'll link a couple of videos that talks about what's going on or what happened, and you can watch those first. I just want to share some of my opinions and looking at the situation from my angle, which you may not find from, I guess, other people. I am a Chinese. I speak perfect Mandarin, yes. So I have some kind of, I don't know, angle coming at this thing maybe other people haven't seen or haven't heard of. And I just want to share that with everyone who is interested in this situation. The first thing I just want to, I don't know, I can't represent those people, but I just want to say the situation is so sad. I feel so sorry for everyone who actually worked their butt off trying to put this show on. This is the big show of the brand. I think from the statistics I've collected, had this show happened, which would take place on 21st, so November 21st in Shanghai. It is called The Great Show, Dolce Gabbana, and it would be epic because it had 360 models or so, over 500 outfits made over the past few months, hundreds and thousands of man-hours put into it. Building that stage, that multiple runway stage in Shanghai, the stage itself cost over $1 million to create, not to mention every other, like things thinkable, like transportation, logistics, so much choreography, and then everybody's work, like the models, the celebrities that they've gathered, the A-list celebrities in China that they've had on their list, the over 1,500 audience that would be sitting at the place had it happened. It's a huge thing. It was cancelled on the day that it was supposed to go on. In the morning, the models were still rehearsing, and then they got this news from Chinese social media, and it's everywhere. It trended, multiple tags of the DG problem trended on the first 10 of Weibo, which is China's equivalent of Twitter. And the models, while they were rehearsing, they got notice from their agency and saying, stop doing that, we are pulling out, we're not doing tonight's show. And group after group of models just stopped working. And I think most of them were Chinese models, and then the international models got news too, and then people started pulling out of the show. It's a mess. I feel so sorry for everyone who are just doing this as a job. There may be young models. This is their first big international brand, designer brand, big show that they've looked forward to. There were so many models who had gone through auditions, who had to just work their butt off to get there, who had basically been on a diet for weeks for this show. And then the people who actually work for the stage, who built the stage, who had to work behind the scenes, hundreds of them. And some of them haven't slept for days. They've worked so hard, and had it happened, it would be on their portfolio for the future. If they want to work in this industry, it's something that's really big. And I bet so many people are looking forward to it happening. Taking photos, like just be proud that I am a part of this great show. And it didn't happen. I just feel so sorry for these people, because I think for any creative people or any people who have ambition in their sort of profession, getting that big opportunity and then seeing it taken away, like literally right in front of your eyes, like half a day before, is so cruel. The second point I want to talk about is I believe this brand now is literally dead in China. Whether it's going to completely destroy the brand because of this elsewhere in the world, I don't know. I have no idea about fashion world, how it works. But to Chinese people, this brand is like dead. There's no hope for your recovery. Just in case some people still have this sort of hope that people are going to forget about this and it's going to recover and come back. No. I've seen like reports and then articles written about really hopefully wishful thinking that this brand can come back. I'm like, no, you don't understand Chinese people. Let me tell you, in general, the Chinese community can be very, very laid back. But whenever the sort of national pride, anything that comes from outside that kind of threatens the identity or insults the country's identity, whether it's cultural, whether it's sort of political, if you have to think about all the Chinese as a collective, which I don't think is a fair way of looking at any people in the world, but let's just say if you look at that, the answer is no. Definitively no. You will never be forgiven. That's just how Chinese people look at these things. If you look at the relationship between Japan and China, Japan has never properly and actually sincerely apologized for its behaviors and actions during the Second World War to the Eastern Asian countries. As a result, Chinese people have never really had any sort of good feelings towards Japanese, and whenever something happens, triggers this friction, you will see this wave of almost illogical, irrational patriotism, but you can't stop it. And it will plaster the entire internet. It will go everywhere. Like, there has been so many times when people just burn Toyota on the street because it's stupid, I know, because those cars are actually made in China. But the thing is, when it comes to those problems, Chinese people don't forgive, don't forget. We don't do that. If it was only the videos that really sparked the whole thing, the 3 sort of eating Italian food video, it wouldn't be that bad. A side note, there's a lot of sort of reading into those videos online. You can see on YouTube. I would just put one point I think most people don't talk about because they don't really know, which is the Mandarin voice. That you don't see, the guy. So in the video, you see the shot is on a girl, but you kind of like having an interview or interaction with the person behind the camera, which is a man, talking to her about like how to eat those Italian food. I think Chinese people had a stronger reaction than international audience because if you don't understand Mandarin, you will just see the subtitles. You can't quite read into the tonal, the sort of voice quality of this guy. But if you are a native speaker, it is actually not difficult to point out this voice, this man, whoever he is not 100% native Chinese. Or in a way that it might be, this person might have some experience in China, but it's not like, you know, like born and raised in China's and also properly trained in Mandarin or voice acting or whatever. There's this slight tonal thing that's very weird. And also it has this very misogynistic sort of teasing way of talking to the girl as if she's dumb, really. So that whole thing will read much stronger to a native Chinese speaker than people who don't understand Mandarin, which is why I think Chinese people would have a stronger reaction towards whatever is going on in the video. I think they are really badly made anyway, from any point of view, aesthetic-wise, you know, like creative ideas-wise, bad. But the worst thing, obviously, is the DM. The person who basically direct messaged on Gabbana, and then his reply is just horrible and escalates really quickly within their conversation, starting to calling China the country of shit, dog eaters, blah, blah, blah. And okay, so that did it for the Chinese internet. That Weibo, the equivalent to Twitter in China, is not a kind place. I've just had my personal experience with how shitty people can be on internet. I'm gonna make a separate video talking about my experience. But I know Chinese social media is not a good place. It is probably worse than Twitter. Very toxic, really toxic. So I'm not defending those people who use really bad language to insult DG, just coming at it. But then in a way, you asked for it. If you didn't do this, nobody would even bother. You know, like there are shitty people always everywhere, and they're just gonna grab onto anything that they can bite and then vent. Maybe they don't have a good life and they want to vent. That's the way that they satisfy their ego. But still, you gave them that. If you didn't do those stupid things, nobody would do it to you. So regarding the really nasty comments that you see coming from China, yeah, they're not always necessarily very logical, very cool-headed, but they didn't come from nowhere, let's just say. But the worst part of this brand is they denied it. Like, if you did this, you get exposed and you come out and apologize maybe your show still get cancelled, but maybe your brand would not completely die. But the really bad thing is, yeah, Gabbana put out this post and saying, not me. It's hacked. Like, this is such an old excuse. Like, if it was 5 years ago, maybe somebody used it for the first time, people give you a benefit of doubt, but no, not now. And the funny thing is, immediately people realize it's not true. You didn't get hacked. And if it's really a hack, this would be the point that you hang on, like desperately trying to save your show, save your brand, and saying, this is not what I've done. And if it's true, there will be a way to prove it, okay? Instagram, just ask Instagram to throw out some back-end data and everybody will see if it's actually been hacked. But obviously it didn't happen. They then put out other kind of apologies that has nothing to do with apologizing. There's not even one word that means sorry. It just keeps emphasizing we didn't understand the cultural difference. We didn't mean it. Really? Like, that's so lame. And then their latest video of them two sitting there and then just apologizing for 1.5 minutes in Italian. I don't understand the language, so I can't be sure if the Chinese translation is 100% correct. But it looks like they're staring at this teleprompter somewhere. I don't know, maybe upper left corner. Keep looking at it while they're speaking. Yeah, you're just reciting other people, whoever wrote that to you. You don't mean it. You're not really apologizing. And again, if you look at that 1 minute content of apology, you didn't talk about why you would reply to people in that language. In Instagram DM, you didn't really explain the not me situation. Did you get hacked? Did you not get hacked? Did you basically lie trying to cover your asses and save, put out the fire? Do you really think what you've said and like how you've acted is respectful? And judging from this brand and its previous track record, I'm not surprised that they did this and then don't quite understand what they've done wrong. Or maybe they did, but they just don't care. This is like international PR disaster of a brand, the top one of 2018, and probably in the past few years. Like, this is epic. This is so badly done. For anyone who's studying public relation, who's studying this would be the case study that you need to look into details and just make sure that that you do the opposite for your client or whoever. Like, if you can stop at any step of what has happened and then just do it differently, it may not ended up this bad today. Then that will lead me to talk about what I think about how Chinese people reacted to this situation. I don't want to defend those people who use really, really vile language and who just don't really think about anything, independently. They just follow the trend, whatever will give them somehow a voice or an audience. And if they vent and then act out and then people start to, give them likes and then reply to them saying you're cool, they're happy. Like, they do it not really because they care about the problem, but because they just looking for attention. For those internet trolls, don't want to defend them. There are very nasty people who still keep posting stuff on social media, like on Instagram, on other places. And I think for a Chinese person, he or she has the right to feel offended and voice their opinion, but using really, really bad language and bad attitude is not an excuse. But here, I want to try to guess why the Chinese social media would react in such a strong way. I think for Chinese people, whether they have the financial ability to consume designer goods, everybody kind of agrees that they understand all those brands like Louis Vuitton, like Gucci, all those expensive Chanel stuff. Chinese people understand that those brands come to China not necessarily because they respect Chinese culture or want to be your friend or anything. They're just here for the money. This is really a trade, a commerce, something that is because you have something I need and I have something you need, and this is a business relationship. Because for those middle class, upper middle class, or really, really rich people, using designer brands is a way to show off. And unfortunately, Chinese people really like tags. I mean, probably more than many other nations. All those things are here to feed the ego. Most of the consumers of designer brands in China don't really understand fashion or design or the brand's history, what it stands for. They consume because they want to show off that they have money, they have social status, and that's why they do it. So the more expensive, the better. And there are so many brands out there for you to choose. And it's not like DG is the biggest brand out there. It's actually a relatively lesser known brand. And because of its style, not everybody can really just wear it and not be laughed at, I think. So to the Chinese consumers, these brands are just the tags that they can put on themselves. So it is completely replaceable. Any brand is completely replaceable. And because this attachment to tags in China, now DG is equivalent to traitor, really, of the country. And then boycotting it is an equivalent tag to patriotism. It's not difficult to see why most Chinese people will very easily take on the tag which says patriot, which means like, I don't touch your brand. I just clearly say I will never have anything to do with you. Get out of China. And that is a much easier and a better tag to wear than, actually saying anything for this brand. And yes, this is going to go away very soon. There are other things people are going to worry about for sure. But it doesn't mean people forget. It's just there are other things they want to look at. But whenever in the future this brand comes up, the internet, the Chinese internet, will not forget what it has seen for the past few days. And it will not forget about the actions, the languages, the dramas that DG has done forever. They will remember the tag that they want to wear and the tag they don't want to wear. That means your brand is dead. Not only that this is dead, doesn't matter. Even if the Dolce Gabbana becomes Dolce without Gabbana in the future, or it just completely dissolves and then they go away and do their individual things. We're living in the day of internet, the age of internet. There's nothing you can really cover up. For those two designers, whatever they do in the future, it would just not have any market in China anymore. Like no Chinese people would want to touch it because nobody want to look for trouble for themselves. They don't want to in any way being implicated that they don't love their country. Whether they really love their country or not, doesn't matter. Nobody would want to carry the wrong tag. So this brand is dead to China. I find the whole thing really funny. If you look at how people reacted, all the A-list stars who got invited pulled out so fast, and they were like in the competition of who announces I don't attend this event quicker contest. They were like running. Chen Kun, the actor, he was invited to a show and he was flying to Shanghai from Beijing on the day. When he landed, he didn't even get out of the airport and he saw it on his social media. Literally, he was about to walk out, then there was a line of fans waiting for him, just to say hello, and there's DG's people trying to pick him up from the airport. And he looked at that, literally on his phone, and then said, I'm going back, goodbye. And he turned around and went back into the airport, and it got videoed by the fans who were waiting for him. And the brand ambassador Wang Junkai and Didier Rabat, they didn't just say that we weren't going to the show. They actually put out official sort of from their studio document saying that they've ended all future collaboration with this brand in any capacity. They cut their ties. They don't want to have anything to do with their brand. Goodbye with stamps. Most of the Chinese e-commerce platforms that sells luxury brands dropped DG now. And DG's shops in China, like any actual retail shops, are like dead. Like nobody goes there. Empty. And the even funnier thing is the other brands immediately catches on this, and then they do it for their own publicity and to say how much they appreciate Chinese culture. Gucci's flagship, I think, store in which city I can't remember, had Chinese Communist Party's flag in the screen, like the big displaying screen on the top of the retail store. Okay, that is a bit over the top. Even the Chinese people are laughing at that. But I think they're actually taking this as a joke. They're playing this very intriguing game of we understand, or we're also having fun with this situation. In a way, it reflects the social media situation is really, really sensitive in China, and all those brands are just trying to cover their own asses. And you can say it is kind of a reaction to a very strong mob kind of mentality of China's social media users. And I agree, it is true. Lots of mobs, really bad people. So this is a type of like their overreaction to the situation. But I also find it's almost like comedy, like funny and ridiculous. I think the trend will go down very soon because most people don't care about DG. Like they don't care about this brand. They probably never even heard about it, and they will forget about it and move on. That's sure. But doesn't mean you are forgiven. The thing is, you will never be forgiven. Anytime this comes up next in any form in China, the internet, the mobs will just, and even the people who are not mobs, okay, they'll come together like a huge flock of bees and attack. And there's no hope for this brand to recover from this, ever. In the end, I want to say it is justifiable. What will happen, what has already happened to the brand and what will happen, you deserve it. You asked for it. Nobody put it on you. You really, really did bring that onto yourself. And for anyone who wants to learn a lesson, if you're in the business of, I don't know, crisis management, just look into the details of this case and learn from it. And also, if you don't know, from the middle of November, Mercury started retrograding, and it's retrograding from Sagittarius back to Scorpio. It is a really, really bad retrograde, because the Sagittarius is not a good sign for Mercury anyway, and because of other things going on, astrologically speaking, it is a really, 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 really bad time to say stupid things on internet, and it can blow up in ways you can't even imagine. This has happened to a couple of Chinese people and a couple of occasions in China already since that started. And this is another good example of effing up on internet during a time that you really should keep yourself low-key. It's not gonna end until the 6th or 7th of December. Everyone, if you have something you think might cause any problem for you on internet, don't say it. Keep it under wrap until later. This is a really bad time to do stupid things on internet. Chances are you're gonna get really, really bad backlash. It's just as above, so below. Okay, so that's the end of this irrelevant video to my channel. Thank you for watching. Have a nice weekend.